Oh, what's going on, everybody? CP, still gone, still missing, but that's okay, because I'm joined by one John Kozak, Andrew Spey in the back, and Ben Askren via satellite. How's everyone doing today?
All at once?
Well.
You want us to answer?
Yep, everybody at the exact same time.
Good.
So good. We're all doing great.
Did you guys have a happy 4th? You didn't join us yesterday. Do anything crazy? Light off some fireworks?
Nothing crazy. My neighborhood was going wild though, so that was fun to watch.
Yeah, Texas loves their fireworks.
I do.
Spey was at the beach.
I was at the beach, but I got back just in time for neighborhood fireworks.
Ah.
Some of the best fireworks are neighborhood fireworks. Made
That's
a
right.
mess of the street. It was
Those
awful.
are my favorite fireworks when I'm lighting them off.
They were pretty impressive. They weren't just like sparklers and stuff.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the news today, we're going to break down some Team Russia stuff. That's why I brought on resident Russian experts, John Kozak and Andrew Spey. Look at their chances in Tokyo, USA's chances against them in Tokyo. Some big news first. Yesterday, it's a good time to be a Cornell fan and a Spartan Combat RTC fan. Mike Gray is kind of building an empire. Kellen Russell and Donnie Vincent announced as assistants. And this is one or just a couple days after Frank Pirelli was announced as the head RTC coach for the Spartan Combat RTC, and a week or two after Gwiz was just added to the Spartan Combat RTC.
So, what is the connection between Gray and Kellen Russell? Weren't they teammates at Blair? If I'm right, am I at the right time there?
I can't say for sure if they were teammates, but I think you might be right there.
They're both Jersey guys.
And
That's
then,
confirmed.
And then Donnie Vincent, maybe Kyle Dake requested him so that he can get payback for one of those college losses like every single day, or what?
Maybe. Yeah. And it's just interesting. And, did Gwiz bring kind of Donnie with him? Was it completely separate? Who knows? But hurts if you're a Wolfpack fan for sure.
Yeah, they took two of those guys, and Donnie's from the area originally. Obviously, went to Binghamton, so he should know the area really well. But that's a really young coaching staff too, which I like. They're going to bring some good energy the next couple of years, and I think Cornell's set up for the foreseeable future with the group of guys they got there now.
Absolutely, great hires by Mike Gray. I don't think anybody can argue with that, and definitely not taking a step back after Cole left.
Yeah, I agree that, I don't know for sure, but the Vincent Gwizdowski connection is probably what that was, and I think it shows, how much of an impact Gwiz is already going to have and what leadership role that he's going to take there, just being a resident athlete and training and being from up there. Could be a sign of him sticking around long term. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Hey, I had a tough question for you guys that I was thinking about while I was working on the disc golf course yesterday. You guys ready for this one?
Hit us with it.
All right. So we discussed on the show yesterday Gable going pro, and we said we kind of all came to the conclusion if Gable wins the Olympics, he's going to go to the WWE. Okay, that was maybe MMA, but definitely he's gone. Now, if he doesn't, we kind of all said, hey, we think he's probably going to come back. So, if you're Brandon Eggum, do you cheer for Gable to win gold or not win gold? What do you do?
Ooh.
He wins silver. He gets bronze. You get another 3 years out of him. Maybe he wins gold in 2024. If he wins in 2021, he's probably gone. But then obviously your program has had an Olympic gold medalist, which is, not a lot of programs can say that. What do you do?
I think
Maybe you sabotage him a little bit.
no. You see
Bolton style. Yeah.
that trophy case they have in there when you get in, they want to have as many impressive things in there as possible. The fact that your program can have an Olympic gold medalist is extremely rare and valuable. And then you say, thank you, Gable, for all that you've done for the university and the team and putting them on the map. And absolutely you root for him to get gold. That's an easy one for me. But I see where you're coming from, Ben. I'm sure there's a side of every Gopher fan that's also like, well, it'd be nice to have him back on the team as well. But they're going to reload. They have so many big recruits coming in.
You just have them win gold and then come back and wrestle for you, right?
I mean, maybe if you could get like a WWE sponsorship,
Right?
where they're paying him to wrestle in college. Now that that's available to him, maybe that could be.
You can't
the
technically
deal.
pay him to wrestle.
Well, you could pay him to like you wear a WWE logo on every
shirt.
shirt that he's at, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he makes if wrestling on primetime on ESPN is worth something for WWE as well. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, did you guys see Jacob Casper? Who was he with? Triple H or something?
Yeah. So Jacob Casper, when I went down to the WWE Performance Center last October to kind of get a tour, and he was starting his first week there, and that was he was moving there, living full time, and Jerry Briscoe really thought highly of Jacob Casper and his prospects and liked him a lot. So I think we'll probably be seeing Jacob Casper on the big screen in not too long.
And didn't he change his name too? What's his wrestling
Yeah,
name?
I saw it. I didn't memorize it though.
I think it was like Julius something. Is it like Creed? Julius Creed?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
sounds
did
right.
know Kozak.
Yeah. It's a cool name. I like Jacob Casper too. But
So
He can
one
do-
of
he
the
can
things
do a
that was
ghost
always one thing that's always so weird about WWE to me, and I don't know if maybe he gets to keep his personal also, but like you become that personality on Twitter and everywhere else, and WWE co-owns that personality with you. And so, like, will Jacob Casper just totally leave the name Jacob Casper and become this other person? And obviously, have the Twitter handle and the social media and everything else. That would be so weird to me because obviously, Jacob Casper, he's not like a primetime name, but he's recognizable. He does a lot on Twitter, and now he could just change it as totally other person. We would never see him again. That's kind of something else I was thinking about with Gable. If Gable wins the Olympics, and then signs some sponsorship deals, he probably won't be able to take those to the WWE with him. So that would be kind of strange also, how do you negotiate those?
Also, he's pretty well known. I guess you could change the name, and it would just seem weird him going by something besides Gable Steveson at this point.
Yeah.
But I guess we're coming from a perspective of wrestling fans, so there's a whole enormous population that still has never heard of him.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt Angle got to keep Kurt Angle, so
yeah,
maybe
there's
it's
precedent.
possible. Yeah.
I think about that with like musical artists who they start to kind of make it, and some managers like, no, you need to change your name or go by this because it sounds better. And then all of a sudden, like their whole life, they've gone by this, and then it's just like switched.
Yeah, you think
Nope, this is your name now.
The Edge is still going by the Edge? Like now that he's like in his 60s, it's like,
I hope so.
hello, the Edge. Good to see you again.
Yes.
How are the grandkids?
Yeah, for real. Oh man. The one in the wrestling media that changed their name, Shane Sparks, not really Shane Sparks. Do you guys know that?
What's his real name again?
Nabel.
Yeah.
His real name is Shane Sparks.
That's
first
right.
of all. Yeah, we had
Nice.
when the whole track wrestling crew came down. They flew him down to Austin for a couple different weekends, but when they introduced him to the whole company and had an all hands thing, there was a couple times where you heard Shane Neville be introduced and talked about what he's going to do, and everybody got to meet him and we're like, no, that's not right. That's Shane Sparks.
For real. Well, let's get into this Russian America thing. I'm very interested to hear what your guys' takes are, but I think we can get this done. I'm Team USA all the way. I don't know about Kozak might be communist defector or something.
It'll be interesting.
Kozakski.
Find out.
Should we kind of run through Team Russia first, kind of introduce people who may not be as familiar with the Russians
Sure.
before we get into the pick'em?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Kozak, I'll let you kind of lead the way since you're Mr. Worldwide, Mr. International.
Me and Pitbull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LA.
Yeah. Yeah, so 57 kilograms, Zaur Guev. He is a 2-time defending world champ at 57 kg. He did not place, though, at 2017 Worlds, so he does have that on his record. Gajimir Rashidov, 65 kilograms, also a 2-time defending world champion, and he took silver in 2017. Zaurbek Sidikov, 2-time defending world champion as well. There's a bit of a theme with the first 3 weights there. And then Artur Nifanov, 2019 world bronze. David Taylor has a win over him from 2018 Urigan. And then Sajalayev, 97 kilograms, 2-time defending world champ there. And then Sergey Kozyrev is their heavyweight rep. And he's pretty young. He was just cadets in 2018.
He wrestled Kirkfleet.
Kirkfleet, and he lost to Kirkfleet
What?
in 2018.
But he wrestled cadets in 2018?
2018.
Worlds.
Yeah, so he
Wow.
he lost to Kirkfleet there, and then Kirkfleet lost in the finals.
But he came back for bronze,
Yep.
I believe.
Mhm.
Yes.
But then Kozyrev did wrestle in they have the Youth Olympics. I don't know how often they have those, but he did win that over Zare from Iran that same year in 2018. So that's
that's also Mason Paris beats our the next year.
right. Yeah. Yep. So that's just a quick rundown of Russia's team there.
Should we get
Okay.
into
3 Dagestanis and 3 Ossetians. A rather evenly balanced team, although 100% from the Caucasus region in southern Russia.
which that's not rare.
No Siberians, no Lebedev.
Mm-hmm. No Conti Menzies.
Well, no, there is a Kanti-Mansi. Technically, Nifanov was born in Kanti-Mansi,
What?
Ah.
but he's
what's
from
Kanti-Mansi?
Ossetian. Kanti-Mansi is up in like the northern part, the Ural Mountains on like maybe central, maybe eastern side. I'm not sure exactly, but there's a lot of in all of Russia. There's a lot of natural resources and fossil fuels, and so I believe that's what Nifanov's family does. Is they work in it's like gas mines or something. But that's not
Are
people
you a
move around for
geography
jobs.
major, Spay? Because I'm a geography major, and I feel like you know way more than I do about Russian geography.
Mostly just from reading. I was a mass communications major, so of course
Oh,
I'm following
wow.
my dream and my passion from undergrad. But
Jay Spay, as we call him.
yeah, Big J Spay. That was my nickname all through undergrad. But no, it was just read a lot of Wikipedia when I'm bored sometimes, which happens I don't know, in class. But yeah, Nifanov is that's maybe you were probably thinking that subconsciously because there's no way you just randomly pulled out Kanti-Mansi reference.
Yeah, maybe.
JD.
For real.
I was just thinking of a different republic.
Yeah, it's but that's not North Caucasus, so that's correct. But yeah, no
The Tuvins.
no Tuvins. Tuva is a
No
really
Tuvins.
cool, interesting little another autonomous republic of the Russian Federation. But that's for another time.
Another time. We'll have a late night geography, Russian geography with Andrew Spay on Thursday nights at 10 p.m.
I'm all about it. Let's go.
All right. So you guys want to make some picks? Kind of whiteboard war this out.
Yeah.
Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
57. Igoyev versus Gilman. I think this is going to be pretty
Yeah,
unanimous.
I think this one's hard to pick against Ugea. How do you guys, Spay, can you give me the official pronunciation on everyone? Because I know you're the expert here. Is it Ugaev? Ugaev? How do you say it?
Whenever I'm trying to figure out exactly how to pronounce these guys, I go find like Russian YouTube and try to listen to how the announcers do it, or see like an interview and they introduce him. And it's Aguyev, as far as I can tell. A lot of the Russian names that end in EV is just transliterated that way, but you can put a Y in between there for like an extra syllable. So there's like a Y in between the U and the E of Aguyev. And then the thing that is annoying about Aguyev is he spells his name with a V in the middle of Zaur, but that's only like sometimes. I think that's like a typo because that's happened to other Russian wrestlers when like their passport when they're trying to go from the Cyrillic alphabet to the Roman alphabet. It's a lot of them aren't scholars or they don't know, or a typo gets in there, but it looks like Zavr but I'm 99% sure it's pronounced and should be spelled Zauer. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things
Okay.
that I did when kind of building my preview here was I looked at their records over the past couple years, but then also compared that to the how they've fared against the Olympic field in their entire careers, and so that's I included that in the preview. But I think just for conversation's sake and to kind of show who Zaur Guev is and how he's been, he's only lost twice since 2018, and
to whom?
He lost to two guys from Azerbaijan, Edashirishvili and I think Amir Slanov, who are not in the field. But he does have a loss to Otley. I forget where that's from, but years past, maybe 2017. So he's like 8-1 against the Olympic field in his career, and you contrast that to Gilman, who still has a decent record since 2018, 45 and 15, but he's 9-7 against the Olympic field. So he's taken a lot of losses.
Did Gilman beat Edashirishvili at that tournament with him and Suriano?
Yeah, at the Deglain. So
Deglain.
both of those guys were in the field there, and Suriano and Gilman took him out. I think he wrestled Edashirishvili twice and beat him both times.
So transitive property.
There you go. There's the case for case for
if you're
Gilman.
looking for a reason.
Yeah. But I think Aguev is the pick on paper, right?
Yeah.
And Kozak also Ugev is really young, also correct? Probably early. You never know with the Russians for sure, but probably early 20s.
He might be a little bit older than that.
26.
Okay, yeah. So he won cadets in 2011 and 2012.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that might be the one thing. Everybody's got an aging curve, and nobody can wrestle forever, especially at those lower weights, 57. Although Gilman,
Yes,
a similar reason why it might give you pause, but when you just look at the results, as Kozak mentioned, Ugeev really tough. You don't really see that kind of dominance at the lower weights. We haven't seen it in a long time at 57 anyway. Very tough to pick against him here.
Yeah, he and Rashidov are probably two of the biggest favorites on paper in Tokyo.
For gold,
for
in
gold.
general.
Against the field. Which is weird because, especially like 65, probably arguably the hardest weight class. And 57, too, we just, like you said, we don't see dominance like that at the lighter weights, really, but we have from these guys.
Hey, since this is something I've asked Christian a few times, but since we have, and you just brought it up, JD, and I'd like to hear Kozak and Spey, your guys' opinion on, 57 and 65, for whatever reason, the depth always seems to be so much better than the other weight classes, especially like when you contrast it with 86 this year, where it's like, you look at the field and you're like, man, like one or two of these guys might have a chance against David Taylor and everyone else is going to get killed. And then, I always feel that way when I look at, even 74, the depth there is not nearly as good as it is down low, right? 57, 65 are always so much deeper. Is it literally just that's the size of a human being in that part of the world? Or like, what is the explanation of those weights being so much deeper than 74, 86 and the other weights as you get bigger?
Not an easy one to feel really confident in whatever the theory is. Mine is that there's just less weight classes down there, and there are a lot of wrestlers that weigh around the 57, 65, and there's not a lot of places for them to go. As you can, bump up. Sadalayev was a pretty normal-looking 84, 86 kilo when he started, and now he's, a full-size 97, and guys can grow into that, and there's, I just feel like, 74, 86, it's a big jump. I don't know if that's a satisfactory answer, but I just feel like 65 or more so even than 57 is just where everybody has to gravitate to. That's a real lightweight. If you can't make the 57 pull, you got to cut to 65 is your place to go, and then you can kind of bulk up. You can figure out ways to get bigger, but it's tougher to go the opposite direction.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure exactly what it's like in some of these other countries, But at least in America, those lower weight classes, that's where you see a lot of wrestlers because a lot of those bigger guys are off doing other sports
Right.
where they can succeed. Whereas if you're a 57 kilogram adult male, you're not going to succeed in a whole lot of other sports
You've no other
that aren't
choice,
size.
really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say this. I was gonna say the same thing, JD. It's like that's why we always recruit those small football players or those small basketball players. Like, hey, you don't have a future over here. You could at least wrestle. and
you
be
can't go that
successful.
far. You have no future.
Yeah.
I try to say it.
how I
I try to
phrase
say it a
it.
little softer than that. Like
Yeah.
the likelihood of someone who's 5'7" making the NBA or NFL, maybe not all that great. It's possible. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but there's not a lot of 5'7" people in the NFL. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right,
we
should
got
move
make
on
the
to
picks.
65. I think we all went.
Well,
negative.
We got to put it on wax, though, yes?
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll wax it up.
Don't speak for me here, JD.
It's all right. It's all right.
Oh wow, Tyler already put it on the board, and I didn't even make my pick. Tyler, how rude.
I think it is worth noting, and this doesn't explain anything, but it does prove the point. At 57, in the last 20 years, there hasn't been a 3-time consecutive champ. And that's what Aguev's going for this year. At this, at the weight or at the lightest weight, it hasn't happened. So he's looking to make history here.
And he's got the individual World Cup.
That is true.
He's going to get the Corona sweep or the COVID slam.
The
COVID
Corona
slam.
quad.
Yeah.
Corona quad. There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm
And
picking
also,
Aguev.
we're picking like right now, right? Like, is it they met around Olympic time?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Versus-
Not like
Yeah.
peak, whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
I mean, well, like, does it matter?
Well,
Wouldn't
Gilman.
it be awesome if we could actually make these guys do a dual meet, like even prior to the Olympics? That would be so awesome.
Ooh,
It would be awesome. Yes.
take a lot of moolah.
Yeah, a lot of money to get Russia's number ones to show up. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. I guess
I am picking Ugaev or Uguev.
There you go. You good.
Back on
Close
the
enough.
board. There we go. Nice.
There it is.
All
on
right,
wax.
65. I feel like we can't even pick Jordan because he didn't qualify. But I guess we're
Yeah.
saying in a hypothetical
Hypothetical.
scenario at which we're having a dual meet between these guys, and this would be another one where I'm cheering for America in this one, but I think you're going to be really hard pressed to make an argument that is reasonable at which you have Jordan Oliver beating Rashidov.
Yeah, it's that. I think that would be a bigger upset in my mind
Oh,
than
yeah.
Gilman beating Uguev. That would be the biggest upset of this duel if it were to happen.
You think so?
Yeah.
That
Oh yeah.
Oliver beating Rashidov?
What's
okay.
Rashidov's only losses of recent anyway is or last couple years Aliyev at the individual World Cup, Haji. Otherwise he's unblemished, yeah. I'm looking at you, Kozak.
Yeah, he lost to Chikayev back at 2019 Urigan also.
The thing that sticks out to me for Rashidov is kind of like the faith that you could tell the Russian Federation has in him, and maybe that's Tadiev, maybe that's his coaches, but at 61 kilos he took losses, right? And then a lot of times for 17 and 18 he made the finals, didn't win. And a lot of times Russia, same with Iran, they have short leashes and they have a little bit more control over that, but it's like they knew that he was the guy for the Olympics at 65. I think he's younger than Aguyev. He's 25, I believe. So it was, it was like they were encouraging or nurturing him to go up to 65, be the guy. And then once he got there, once he filled out that weight, the last few years, he's been pretty unstoppable. So I think that says a lot. I mean, you got to read the tea leaves a little bit, but I think the Russian coaches have, probably the most faith in him as well, even though 65, as we've just discussed, deepest around the world, certainly the deepest, I think, at the Olympics.
You know what? I mean, especially a guy he won this weight class, and I think half of Flo is in love with him, and then I feel like he just fell off the face of the earth was Romanov. Does he even wrestle anymore?
Sosan? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. But he was up at like 70 and 74 and having very average results.
Yeah, he was up.
That's
He
so
was up in
crazy.
weight, and then he was up at 70. I think he was trying to drop down to 65,
Mhm.
and then he had surgery, and then pulled out. Kind of made a public statement that he was out of Olympic contention. So
Yeah, 'cause he was on fire in 2016.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think in 2019, 2020, he lost to Sharayev, who's kind of one of the young Russians to watch coming
Urban.
up. Yeah. So I think he took a couple losses to him. And then he also lost to Shakiev, too. I just looked it up at 2020 Russian Nationals. He was down at 65.
I think he can't make that pull. I mean, he was huge, but
Yeah.
that Olympic run was absolutely electric.
16 was the day before, too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was doing it for Kudakov.
Correct.
All the Osetians had the Kudakov T-shirts. Kudakov is basic. He had a medal stripped, unfortunately, due to doping, but I think is like a 3 or 4 time World Olympic champ from Ossetia. Died in a car accident, still in his 20s, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that was a
It
great
was
run.
fun to watch.
So we're all going
so
Rashidov.
Yeah, I think we're all going Rashidov here.
Fair to say,
Yep.
but he's not untouchable.
He's not untouchable. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
no, I forgot he lost to YBR, right? In
That gave me life.
That was in
because
the World
20
Finals.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah, no, because I had said he was a 2-time world champ, so I misspoke there. That's my bad. But yeah, that match was awesome.
Bonet as a 35-year-old young man getting it done.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. I wish we got some more years of Bonet. That was he was electric.
Yeah. Who's to say he's done, right?
Actually, did he hit a high flyer on Tony Ramos?
Like 2 in a row, I think.
2 in a row. That's I showed the high flyer. I was doing my elevator series at practice last night with our youth kids because we're back to folk style because they're done with their stuff. And I showed a high flyer, and these kids are like, "That would never work." And they tell me the time that's happened, and I had a handful of times in my back pocket, but I forgot Tony Ramos YBR. I should have brought that one up.
Wasn't it Beat the Streets?
Beat the Streets.
The
yes,
salsa
twice
in the
a row.
square, and it happened, I think,
Yes.
twice in that match. Maybe,
Yes.
yeah. That was a rough one, but I mean, that's Bonet
He
for you.
was so much fun.
Also,
Yeah,
have your kids never heard of Dylan Ness?
Well, I tried telling that's almost a little too old for him. So I brought him up. He would do it more off the bottom. The elevator shoes up where you elevate
Yeah,
up.
he would
bottom,
like
go back
stand
to
up
the
and
head,
reach
arm.
back. Is that how
Yeah.
you showed it? You were like, yes, you stand up, you
Well-
reach back, you throw yourself right to your back, and you stay there for like 1 to 2 seconds, and then you finally kick.
Yeah, no. Well, so I mean, he has a great elevator series, and so I did bring up Dylan Ness when I was talking about the one on the mat, But then off of the high crotch, they were like, "That seems like garbage." They would just push the foot here or move the knee there, and I'm like, "No, it's not that easy. You guys are oversimplifying the techniques that are in play." And then I brought up a few times, but I did not remember YVR.
I would love to hear like a match strategy conversation between Chandler Rogers and Dylan Ness. Just like have him share like, here's what I think of when I go to my back. But
Kozak, did you listen to the show yesterday? Because I brought up that
Yeah.
Chandler Rogers was here, and he said, in the first 30 seconds, one of us is going to our back.
yeah,
And I had just been trying to talk all the kids in my club out of that mentality. Like, dude, it's a 6-minute match. Like, I've literally in the last month had to say so many times, like, listen, guys, I don't want to do it, and I'm sure you don't either, but we might have to win a match 2-2 or 3-2 or 4-3 or 3-3. Like, we might have to do that at Fargo. We might have to get down to the nitty-gritty, get in our stance, and win these close matches. We can't just start shooting if we're not scoring in the first 30 seconds. We can't start diving in.
right.
And then Chandler Rogers says, listen, one of us is getting put on our back in the first 30 seconds. And I'm like, oh, damn. Oh, man. That was funny. All right, we're going to Dake and
74,
Sidakov.
the match of Tokyo. Is this everyone's most anticipated match?
Well, it's in the semis, though, not the finals, so I think that takes something away from it.
You mean of this dual
Oh, wait,
meet, or
no,
just
no.
what we want to see in the Olympics?
Yeah, we don't know yet where Dake's going to be.
We don't know where
in the bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But so that means that Dake could have Chamizo Dake's gonna be on Chamizo's side or Sidikov's side because Chamizo's 1, Sidikov's 2. So, yeah, that makes it interesting because then one of those matches will have to happen pre-finals. So I think yes, I mean from American perspective, that's 74 is the most fun because we don't know where Dake's gonna get drawn in. He's gonna have to beat one of those guys in the semis and one in the finals.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was thinking you could argue. Some might say 125 as well, because there's a lot of questions about Gable.
Yeah, and he's going to have the same
He's in the
scenario
same-
as Dake, where he's going to be on either Gino or Taha's side. But yeah, it is fun to think about even right now, knowing that Dake, if he wants to win gold, will have to probably go through both Chamizo and Sidakov. So that gets me excited for sure.
So listen, I'm gonna pick Dake. I hope all you guys aren't communists and you do the same. Man, Dake's just on fire. He hasn't really lost in quite a long time. His style, it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a 2-2, 3-2, something like that. There's no way I foresee this being a high-scoring match. And I think Dake can be disciplined, get the positions he needs to get to, and score. He's gonna need one takedown and a push out to win this, or something like that.
Yeah, and my thing is, Dake's just wrestling out of his mind right now, and I just don't see how. I feel like Sidakov will need 2 takedowns, at least, because I see Dake getting like a takedown and a push out, or something like that. I don't envision a scenario where Sidakov takes him down twice. Maybe he gets to his outside step, high crouch once, but I don't see it happening twice. So give me Kyle Dake.
Man, I would love to see them. I know this scenario is unlikely to happen in a match. I would love to see them just wrestle from that outside step high crotch that he shoots, because Dake is so strong defensively, and he's got great balance, he has great flexibility, and he's got great power. That's kind of like a trifecta of things in there. And Sidakov gets in so deep where his hips are really under his shoulders. I would love to see them battle in there and see what happens, because actually I've been working with Keegan, and he's getting really good at that outside step. And it's freaking, when they get in super deep, it's really hard to start locking chest wraps and other stuff. So I would love to see them wrestle from there, but I think Dake will be like, I know how Dake thinks. He's gonna say, I'm just not gonna let him get there. That's what he's gonna, he's gonna be able to slow him down there, where he's not gonna get to the outside step.
Trying to game plan, if you're Sidakov, I would say try to get to it, but close to the edge. Get step outs.
Yes.
Maybe get your step out, and then kind of try something big. Maybe get 2 or 4 after that. But even there, even Kyle Dake on 1 foot on the edge is so absurdly good that it does not make sense.
Yeah, I think Dake's strength is probably what would do it for him. But I have already decided that I'm picking Sidakov to win gold, and I'm going to stick by it and be the Russian defector here. I'm sorry. But maybe, look, I like a lot of times when I pick guys, that ends up inspiring the other guy to win just to prove me wrong, because that happens so many times. So maybe this is good luck for everybody. You want me to pick against Dake. But I think it's going to be super defensive. It's going to be super low scoring. And, Sidakov got that ice in his veins.
It is true. He does have clutch gene win factor.
Yeah. But I certainly don't think it's going to be, more than a point or, 2 at max or whatever. Probably a criteria.
Yeah, I like the matchup for Dake. You guys kind of already talked about it a lot. So I'm gonna pick him. But one of the things that I was just thinking about, and Spey, I know you brought it up over the past week or so with Yazdani's draw at the 2016 Olympics, and that's kind of where he got just like the perfect draw there, a really nice draw. And when on the other side you had Burroughs and Godoyev, and I think even Shabanov was in there. And that's one of those things where, man, so much of it could depend on the draw. And
Let them cannibalize themselves and then have your perfect match.
Exactly, yeah, to where even that Burroughs match with Godoyev where there was so much blood, time, and that was like the perfect scenario to beat Jordan Burroughs, is just make it a match where it gets stopped every 15 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for
that was
blood
clearly,
time.
I mean, I would love to do a deep dive on that bracket because I have thought about it quite a bit. But, yeah, to the game plan is to get in Burroughs' face, make it not about the wrestling, make it about, all the other nonsense that they pull.
Right.
And, yeah, that, but that's part of the strategy, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So I'm picking Dake, but, I mean, and the other side of it is this is a match we could see in the very first round. Dake could get drawn right into
A la
Silicon.
Yazdani in 2018.
Yeah,
with
Taylor.
David Taylor.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Which is
I'm still
almost
picking
good
Dake.
for the time zone thing, like for whether you're going to be able to watch it or not.
Yeah.
True.
You either stay up kind of
really?
late.
What?
East Coast, it's going to
What's
start
it
at 10
looking like?
p.m. So if you're not going to stay up until 3, 4 a.m.
break of dawn,
whatever, you're going to want it to happen early and stay up a little bit late. But we'll be
And
up
when
the
are the
whole time.
finals?
Finals are like at 5. They start at 5:15. So depending on if you're a
8
gold medal
a.m.
match,
Eastern time.
5:15 a.m. Eastern time.
Son of a. Damn it.
What a great beat to let that sink in.
Yeah, Spade, you just put the schedule up, right?
Yeah. So and then I put who's wrestling.
Oh, come on.
When you might see them. But, they'll drag out or, there'll be matches in between, and I think they'll probably only use one mat when they get to the medal matches. So if you're the gold medal match of, one of the last of the 3 weights, they're doing 3 weights every day. So, it could be closer to 8, 9 a.m. on the East Coast, maybe 10 a.m., 11, West Coast, you're in better shape. But, yeah, it's
Wait, you think it's going to last that long in the mornings?
well, then adding, like, hours as you go west in the time zone. But, that morning session, I think they're going to do repechage and then bronze and then gold. So
Interesting.
it may be drawn out.
Oh, yeah. So, the night sessions, that's 9 p.m. Central for us. The night session's not going to last all that long if they're only going 2 rounds. Right? I mean, it's only
correct.
going to last, what, 2-3 hours?
Yeah, so round of 16 in quarterfinals, 3 weight classes. And then, they do the semifinals in the morning. And then the medal matches for...
The repechage medal matches.
Yeah. Well, the repechage, they do the thing before. It's really confusing because it's like there's 2 sessions, but because of the time difference, like one day's morning session is actually our next day session.
Well, and that's different too than World Championships where they do semis in the evening and then they come back the next day,
Right.
and do medal matches and finals.
Yeah.
So they're doing the whole tournament in one day. I haven't thought about that until.
No, it's still 2 days.
Oh, is it still 2
they're not.
days?
It's
still
like
2 days.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
almost
okay.
like 4 sessions.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right.
So you start with your prelim quarterfinals, and then in that evening you're going to do the semifinals.
All right. So only the first day then will be really quick because they'll just have the semis and it'll get done early, and then the second day it'll be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
All right. My bad.
It's not. You don't have to put it all
together.
together, but you can look at the schedule and hopefully just know exactly when whoever's going to wrestle that you want to see, or when it starts.
We got Funky Fresh Camp. That's going to be a long week for me, boy.
No
Dang.
sleep.
No sleep at all. Rough.
All right, back to these picks. We'll move on. 86. Probably this or heavyweight is Team USA's biggest favorite, biggest chance at bonus, whatever you want to say. David Taylor versus Artur Nifanov. These two have actually wrestled before. I believe it's the only Team USA versus Team Russia Olympic team matchup. Yes, like that. The two starters have hit before.
Well,
Snyder and Sedgelayev.
well, yeah. Aside from
Yes,
Snyder, Sedgelayev, I think so. Yeah.
So when you guys said biggest upset before of Oliver over Rashidov, I feel like this is a huge upset too. If David Taylor were to lose to Nifanov, that would be like, maybe I'm being biased right now, but it would be very shocking to me.
Yes, that is true. I was thinking biggest Team USA over Russia
Yeah, sure.
upset. But actually, I would still pick, I would still say this
Rashida.
is maybe less of an upset. I don't
Yeah.
know.
The only thing I see Naifanov going for him, or what his biggest advantage is that he's young and still improving, and potentially at the ascending part of his aging curve. But otherwise, I don't. Unless he comes up with something new, something that we haven't seen from him before, I don't think he's dynamic enough. I don't think he applies enough pressure. And I think David Taylor, when he's wrestling well at 86 kilograms, is just an absolute sight. So yeah, to me, it's a fairly easy one. I mean, nothing's out of the question, but this is Taylor.
Mm,
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong in saying this. I feel like David might be wrestling a little bit tighter than he has in the past. This past kind of year, he's had a few more close matches. And I'm just like saying this off the top of my head. I can't even give examples, but I do think we will see the best version of David Taylor in Tokyo, and that is much better than the best version of Naifanov. The
Fair
clip
statement.
we just showed, Taylor won 14-4, and I believe that was 2018 Regan, 2017 or 2018. I think it was
Yeah, 2018.
2018 Regan. Naifanov actually gets the first takedown, but Taylor ends up getting on top and doing a bunch of folk style turns. Actually, he cradled him, he barm tilted him a bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of the things, and if you want to make a case for Nafanov, is that was
We
three
don't.
and a half.
We actually don't. Want to make a case?
Yeah.
No, we don't. We
Yeah.
don't.
But as JD was talking, that was 3.5 years ago. And then his point, we haven't seen David as dominant. We haven't seen him wrestle as much, period, as he was
Yeah.
during that 2016, 2017, 2018 run where he was looking like, where he was the best guy in the world. But since he came back from injury, he hasn't had that many matches. In fact, he's only had, I'm looking at it right now, he's only had 13 matches since
Dang,
that
that's
beat
crazy.
streak.
Trials, Pan Ams, and then the cards.
Yeah, so I mean that's one of the things where it's like, I don't know if you want to compare to what he was doing in 2018, where he was wrestling so much and was looking so dominant, and now he hasn't had as many matches, kind of been a little tighter. So I don't know. I still favor Taylor. I think it'll be a huge shock if he were to lose to Nafanov, but definitely something to consider, something to think about.
I would say that might
Definitely.
even work in David's favor, having less wear on the
Yeah, there you go.
tire, on the tread. He's getting a little bit up there. I don't want to sell him short on the age thing, but maybe now's the time where maybe you taper off the number of matches that you wrestle, and it may help keep him fresh.
Or wrestle a lot because I like to watch you wrestle.
Yeah.
That too.
All right. 97. We all went Taylor there, right? Officially.
Yes.
Yes.
officially. Mhm.
97. The trilogy. Kyle Snyder, Abdul Rashid, Sadulayev. Is anybody going to pull the trigger on Kyle Snyder?
So I feel like obviously I want to pick Kyle Snyder, but I feel as though intellectually it's kind of like what reasoning could I use to back up my argument?
Okay. I'll give
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'll give you
go
one.
for it.
America.
Reason number two.
Touche.
The way Kyle won in 2017, you could say if he doesn't get thrown to his back and pinned, that
2018.
maybe he would have won in 2018 because the way Kyle beats Sadulayev is he wears him down and beats him on points. He didn't get that opportunity in 2018, so you say don't give up that outside peak, and that's your game plan. You wear him out. You could say, hey, we didn't get to see him do that in 2018, but if we did, so you're
think
banking on
JD
Sadulayev not getting up too big or pinning Kyle Snyder, and you think he's going to do that, and that's your
So
path to
I mean, I think that's the obvious path to victory. And I think like the small argument you could make is, well, Sadulayev didn't look that great in that most recent tournament that they went to, and that would be your small argument. But then it's like, well, if you want to make an argument against Kyle, it was just January and he got roughed up by Mohammedian, and so he didn't look that great there at all. And man, it's really hard to foresee a scenario where, listen, it could happen. It's happened before. It happened in 2017. It could happen again. But just like saying we're going to pick it, I feel like it's a total. And listen, I'm okay with making a homer pick, but I feel like it's a total homer pick.
You can call it a homer pick, but you saw me go against an American at 74, and I'm going to say the Mohammedian win or loss was over a year and a half ago now, and
Yep.
I agree with JD that getting rolled to your back and pin makes it very hard to win a match, and as long as
Or
I
gas
always
someone
said
out.
that.
yeah, as long as Kyle avoids getting pinned in the first minute or so, that definitely increases his odds of winning. And I think he's he's the type of guy that's gonna deconstruct everything he's been as a wrestler and what we saw about him that has been in the Penn State room for a while now. Has had Kale, I'm sure, and Jake and Casey, everybody trying to this is a guy that's been at the pinnacle, that he's still one of the most elite guys and one of the best ever when you just look at all of his accolades, and he's still super young.
Yeah.
So he has the ability to break down what hasn't been working and rebuild himself up back new. And I saw Sadulayev in his last few competitions. He did not look like the invincible tank that's just going to steamroll through everyone. On paper, he's still the favorite. If you were making odds, if you were Vegas, you would make the odds in Sadulayev's favor. But I'm going to go ahead and say I'm picking Kyle Snyder now. That's my marker. I'm going to make the same pick for the Olympics when they come out, and maybe it looks foolish. I don't know. In hindsight, we'll all find out. But right now, I'm going Kyle Snyder.
There you go.
Wow.
That's my reasoning.
Andrew America Spay.
Thank you. We need some more patriotism on this podcast right now.
I want to pick Kyle. I just can't do it. This is one of my least confident picks. So I think I'm more confident in Dake than I am in Sadulayev. It's 60-40 for me, leaning Sadulayev, but I'm still leaning Sadulayev, and he's my pick.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't think it's a done deal. I don't think this is a blowout. It's still very much up for grabs and in the air, at least in my mind.
So I don't really like it, but I'm gonna pick Sadulayev.
Wow.
I would love to see myself prove wrong, but I don't think Kyle has given us what we need to kind of think the other direction. And now he slowed down a little bit, like he didn't totally dominate. Was it Ulan-Ude or whatever tournament they were just at?
Aliyev.
Was that Aliyev? Sorry, the Aliyev. And yeah, I just think he's so good, so dominant. I hope Kyle can slow him down, gas him out. I would be partying up in my house if that happens. But I'm picking Sadulayev.
Wow. Are we shooting this podcast from Is this Red Square? Are we in Moscow right now, or are we in America? I don't know. I can't tell at the moment.
Shut up, you picked Sidikov.
That was 2 whole picks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everything in my head is saying Sadulayev, but my heart, which I have always followed, says Kyle Snyder. So I'm gonna go with Snyder.
Yeah.
Because of my heart.
Wow. Okay. You fools. I'm kidding. Like I said, not a bad pick. I don't hate it. 125, Gable Stevenson versus Sergey Zirev. I think Gable is probably a favorite here. The only real concern or question mark that one might have going into this, we haven't seen Gable too much on the senior level international scene.
Yeah. I haven't seen the other guy at all, and I've seen Gable, and he looks outstanding. So I wouldn't put Gable as the favorite if I was making the betting odds because of the other guys in the bracket. But I think he's probably the third best. kind of outside looking in, and I think he can definitely beat the Petrashvili and Taha.
Yeah, Ben. I look at results a ton, and I try to compile them and build all those records and everything like that. And Kozyrev, his results are so scarce. Since 2018, I think he only has 16 senior level matches. Like
Dang.
we said, he was a cadet in 2018. So it's like
Mhm.
I'm really surprised they chose to go with him with
Yeah.
Kozyrev. He barely won Russian nationals in a field that they had another guy, Sharipov, wasn't in, and he barely won that tournament. And so, like, I thought they were going to send both of those guys to an international tournament like Poland or like the Aliyev and kind of sort it out there, but they just chose to go with Kozyrev. So I don't think he is a medal lock at all. I don't view him the same way that I view Gable. So I think Gable's a huge favorite here.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
And we haven't seen a ton of Stevenson on the senior level, but his style is just so perfect for freestyle. His footwork is so fast and strong, and positioning, and he can change levels as good as any heavyweight I can remember seeing. And yeah, Kozyrev, you see how short the leash is. Sharipov, I think, was the guy, and then he lost in a tournament, and then Kozyrev went out and qualified, right?
Yeah.
And but he hasn't looked dominant. I mean, maybe you can say he's young. He is young, so maybe shows up with some new tricks. But yeah, this is definitely the weak link in the Russian team. He could still medal, definitely. I don't see him, taking out more than a couple of the big, the superstars in the heavyweight bracket. So this is Gable Stevenson for me. Pretty easy call.
Yep.
So, what would that bring? Oh, I think I went 3-3.
I went
split.
3-3.
I think I went.
We need a
4-2.
7th match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I went 4-2. I think I only picked the first two.
Yeah.
There we go, Kozak. You're a real American hero. I
Yeah,
love
and
it.
you didn't pick your cousin,
My cousin
Kozak
Cozy.
Kozyrev.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
somewhere back there you got to have some sort of relation.
All right.
But Spay went 3-3 too, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, I flip-flopped my compared to you guys, I didn't do any flip-flopping. I'm staying consistent with my picks, as you'll see when the actual Olympic picks come out as well. But yes, I went Sidikov instead of Dake and Snyder instead of Sadalayev.
So it would come down to criteria.
Criteria: who's going to get the bonus points?
David Taylor.
There you go. Lock it up.
Boom. There we go.
America wins. That was fun.
That was, I mean, well, let's hope it happens in real life. Man, we're less than a month away from the Olympics. And now I'm really disappointed. I wake up at 4:15 a.m. to watch the finals and semis. But, we're going to get it done. This only happens once every 5 years now.
Yeah.
Or once every 3, depending on how you look at it.
Next time.
Yeah. Knock on wood, JD.
Knock on all the wood. All right, Kozak, you're also doing some cool stuff. Coming out some cool articles about historical Olympic data. We don't have to dive too deep into this stuff, but I kind of just wanted to touch on it maybe a little bit, take a quick look, and maybe pump up your articles and people go look at them.
Yeah, that's cool. We're kind of going through a week leading up to the Olympics, and so I don't know if you guys have looked at those and what your major thoughts or takeaways are from there. I only went back 20 years, and I kind of had to mash up some of the weights just because they've changed throughout the years. But I think I did a good enough job of making those old ones translate to the new ones. But kind of the theme is obviously Russia's the best, but I think it's always one of the things I like is looking at the trends and who's been dominant, who's kind of come on the last 10 years. So I don't know, any major thoughts or questions from those?
Did anything surprise you when you were compiling this that maybe you didn't see coming?
So in different weight classes, you can kind of see different like little themes come up. So in 57, the theme was no one individual is staying at the top for more than 2 years in a row. But then at 97, which I haven't released yet, it should come out in a couple days. 97 is like the opposite theme, whereas like it's like dominated by one guy for years at a time. Yeah, so you had Gatsalov, and then you have Snyder, and then you had Gazimov in there, and now Sadulayev. So like it's like that dominant guy at the top, and then everybody else. So I think stuff like that is pretty interesting.
That is really interesting because when you look at, I actually clicked on the one link you had where it links to the Soviet Union wrestling success. Mm-hmm. And to your point, you see very little people. There's been a couple historically who've stuck around at the lightest weight class, but lots of times, to your point, it's 2 years, 3 years. It's not long, where they stick around and they have success. Whereas then you look in the middle and upper weights, it's like you had Arsen Fadzayev for a decade in a row, or Makharbek Kadartsev for like a decade in a row. Like you have these guys who are going on these really long runs of a decade in a row, and down to the lighter weights, like it looks like 3 or 4 is the maximum amount of world, Russian teams that someone qualifies for.
I think part of that is the window you have as an athlete of that size, and how much is depending on your quickness, your speed, your fast twitch, and stuff like that. And if that takes even a slight step back, it makes a huge difference. Whereas maybe you can get away with a little bit more at 86, 97.
Yeah, for a nice baseball analogy, since you bring up transitioning from relying on your speed, which is one of the first skill sets to kind of fall victim to that aging curve that I brought up a few times, is the Barry Bonds move, where you go from a speedster, you go from hit for more average and steal bases than you do hit for power and get walks and stuff like that. And then he was able to bulk up. We all know how he did it. I don't recommend that or encourage anybody to take the Barry Bonds route.
Super vitamins.
But leaving the super vitamins alone.
Maybe Ken Griffey Jr. would have been a little bit better analogy.
You could assume anybody from that baseball era, but they were probably, maybe.
Yeah, but Barry Bonds literally like got caught.
I don't know is what I'm saying, is that I would not put, nothing would surprise me from that. Maybe he was just better at it and didn't take the ones that made your head explode and totally change your body. He was a little more subtle about it. But anyway, yeah, you then, you go from hitting for average and stealing base to hit for power. And, it's tougher in wrestling if you're a 57 guy that you rely on super quick moves and scrambling. You can't just be like, all right, well, now I'm a heavyweight and I'm just going to rely on, push-outs and low-scoring bouts. You can move up a weight class, maybe 2, but then, with only 6, you're kind of out of options.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But I like reading about 74 just because it's it's good for the USA, and then you just see how tough it is with Russia in there, and then the ex-Soviet countries, and I think it's gonna be tougher to dominate even in the future because in the Soviet era, you only had basically one guy. Once you get by him, you're almost guaranteed a medal. And then Russia maintains, kind of a stranglehold on a lot of the talent, and you don't leave unless you can't be the number one. But more and more guys are transferring. It's opening up a little bit more. It's like a whole new kind of era we're entering. And, will that make it tougher to stay on top when the talent is concentrated in more, or, not as concentrated in just one or a couple countries?
Yes.
Yeah, I think. And I'm going to do kind of like a wrap-up of all the weights and everything together once, it's all done, to kind of look at the whole. But I think the major theme is obviously the 2000s were rough for the United States in freestyle, in that they didn't bring home a ton of medals. But we're beginning to see the upward trend of that, to where our best guys are bringing home medals year after year after year. And 74 is a really good analogy for where we're going, is that, you have Burroughs, where he was, medaled 8 out of the last 9 years. And now you have Dake, where you can plug him right in, and he's, just as good. He should challenge for a medal, should challenge for gold. And that's what Russia's been doing for for years, where they have a guy who's the best in the world, and then he moves up in weight or he retires, and they have their number 2 or their number 3 plug right in and win world gold. And we're getting there, and I think that's where the trend is showing and will kind of continue to show. But I don't know if we're at Russia's level just yet.
And like this graph right here is insane. That's up on the screen. This is from 2010 to 2019. And you think about Burroughs started his run in 2011, and Russia still has just as many medals and 1 less gold, which is crazy to think about when you think about the run Burroughs went on from like.
Well, yeah, I mean, to Kozak's point though that he just made, it's like Burroughs was an anomaly for us for sure when he came out. A guy that's going to medal that many times in a row has only happened a few times in American history, whereas the Russians have just another guy and another guy and another guy that they just keep putting in there, and that's essentially exactly what happened at this weight class. So Burroughs has stood kind of the test of time, right? Now Dake took over, and hopefully he can run that torch with us, and hopefully America can start doing that where when one of our superstars retires, it's not a drop off. It's just, okay, next guy in, and then they can go win medals. But Russia has, I mean, if you look at 74, actually, I have it up over the course of the last 20 years, right? So it was Satiev actually had a really long run. But then after Satiev, you had a whole bunch of guys who didn't stay around very long, but were really good. So Mertsaliev won 1 world title in 2007. Then Sargush comes in and wins 2 world titles, but then he kind of becomes ineffective. So then they tried Kubetsi, who didn't do very well. Sargush comes back. Then you had Gadeev, who did really well. And then now they have Sidakov, so just like the next person and the next person and the next person.
Yeah, it was very demoralizing when Jamalov came out of nowhere, and you're like, "What? Another one of these guys? We're just figuring out how to do with Sidakov here, and you're telling me there's another guy, and Sabalov, and you do." Looking at that, you're talking about the Wikipedia entry, right, Ben? That you're looking at there. It's amazing how many guys they go one and done, and then they're transferred. Shamil Kurimagomedov did not place 2013, then he went to Russia or Italy. Didn't do a whole lot there. Kady Magomedov did not make the medal stand in 2017 at 70 kilos. Now he's at Belarus, where there's a bunch of other former Russians. And you wonder if there's some of these other guys that are going to make a similar move that also did not make the podium. Another quick point I wanted to make up, similar to the trends of countries and how who can get Russia's the gold standard, going back to the Soviet Union days of just having guys to plug in. I feel like Iran was getting there in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where they were having good success, being able to bring in new guys at a lot of different weights. But I think they almost got too quick of a leash. I think they got too quick not to give guys a chance, and it's starting to burn guys out. And they kept promoting. And Azerbaijan, I think, fell into that trap a little bit too. But they import a lot more guys, and they get a lot more transfers. Iran, I don't think, ever gets any of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because you probably think they took their lead from Russia, and if you look through this historical chart, there's very few guys who don't do well and they get another shot, right? I mean, maybe 2 years, and then maybe sometimes like Urbek Farniev, for example, he won, and then Mertsaliev was that weight class for a few years, and then they put Farniev back in, and he didn't do well for 2 years. But there's not very many guys who are not doing well for 2 years, and then they're still getting put in, right? They're usually, if you don't do well for a year or two, you're out and you ain't never coming back.
Yeah, it's dog eat dog out there, and I think if Iran showed a little bit more patience and not tried to be Russia, because very few countries have that talent pool and they have that depth, then they would be in a better shape than trying to promote all their cadet and junior guys faster than maybe they should in the developmental phase. Yeah. But that's absolutely armchair stuff, hard to know without being as involved in those programs.
Yeah, and Spey, you might know this too, or even more than I do, about the Iranian kind of system and the support that they have. But I think the lack of support for the Iranian wrestling team and funding has to do with maybe some of their guys fizzling out. I read some of the Iranian wrestling papers and things like that, and there's been multiple guys that say, I compete and my father supports me. I don't make any money for competing for Iran. And these are guys who have represented Iran on the the world or Olympic team. And so I think some of it just speaks to that. It's just like it's not worth it for them to stay around long term, especially if they have 1 or 2 years where they are not successful. Then they're for sure not going to get any support. So I think there's some of that, just resources and funding.
It's a global
Iran.
thing, yeah. It's not just the U.S. and it's not just Iran. I know Azerbaijan, they had basically like a sit-in where the whole team said, we're not, you got to pay us. You said, we have contracts, and Azerbaijan was going through a lot of their checks come from the government. They were going through a rough patch, and they withheld their paychecks, and you didn't see Azerbaijan out on the mat. Haji Aliyev, I think, was thinking about retiring because he was upset about the pay. Yeah, it's everywhere, and I think you're keeping up with all the Iranian stuff pretty well, John. So I think you got your finger on the pulse there. It's a tough sport, and then getting support, you can't take it for granted anywhere, and there's very few exceptions where guys get as much all around the world, even in Russia, the support that would be commensurate with the amount of effort that it takes to get to the top of the sport.
Yes. Yeah, I mean that's huge. And that's even something in America I think that we took for granted or didn't acknowledge for a while, and now you're seeing with the RTC programs being so supportive of athletes, we're having way more athletes stick around for a much longer period of time, and that's going to be, it's already been hugely beneficial, and it's going to continue to be moving forward. So yeah. So I didn't realize the Iranian sport was so bad. I actually would have guessed, because I don't read the Iranian articles. You guys are pretty hardcore.
Yeah,
that it was the opposite way, that in a country that loves wrestling that much, that they would be very supportive of their athletes. So that kind of surprises me.
I think they're supportive. I think they just, they run out of. There's not a lot of money sloshing around in the entire country for sports in general. But Kozak is very hardcore. He showed me some of the stuff he found. Google Translate, for as rough it is trying to read Russian articles, it's even rougher when you're trying to read Farsi, which is even more difficult to translate when you're relying on a computer. So you got to dig deep.
So GDP per capita in Iran is only $5,500 for the whole year. So, man, they must have really not having support, because you think if like the average GDP is 5,500 or per person is 5,500, then hell, you give those dudes like 12 grand a year, they're double the average.
Yeah,
living like kings.
And just like a lot of other countries, a lot of the Iranian wrestlers come from they're not from Tehran, where most of the money is concentrated. Mazandaran on the southern shores of the Caspian Sea is where a lot of the wrestlers from. Yazdani's from there.
I love your geography. The southern shores of the Caspian Sea. It's fantastic.
I got to use it in these opportunities. But yeah, they're not coming from the most wealthy regions of Iran either. So it doesn't make it easy.
Got it.
Yeah, one of the articles I just pulled up is Yazdani talking about the support, and he says, I complained several times, but to no avail. And then he says, I don't talk about it anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like Yazdani was like rich or something, like he was sponsored by car companies and everybody else in Iran.
Yeah.
A lot of car companies in Iran, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I guess someone's got to buy cars somewhere in Iran, Spay.
The Russians stay getting cars for their winnings.
Oh, yeah. Not always a Lada either. Sometimes, a Toyota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We have cues from Fs, or we're going to run out of time?
Yeah. I was about to say we're closing in. So let's get those questions from friends. The first one from Adam Rush. Is David Taylor the only one to beat Sharifov? Is there another current American wrestler to have beaten 2 Olympic champions? Now, when I got excited, when I saw this question, I got excited because no, David Taylor is not the only American to beat Sharifov. Jake Herbert did it once, and we have a hilarious clip to play. Go ahead and run this, Tyler. Sorry if you're just listening to this, but look at this offense, the setup from Herbert. He does the look over there. What? Shoot.
Oh, wow.
Didn't work.
Wait, what was going on there?
He's just nothing. What? That's his setup. Look over there. And then he shoots a double. He literally does the point.
Yelling.
Look over
Something's going on. Because look at this dude right in the beginning of the screen that's pointing around. Yeah, see this guy's over here yelling. Oh, boo.
Yeah, Tony Rotundo clued me off to this a while back, and so credit to him. But yeah, it's certainly a great setup.
Tremendous.
And he won the match.
Yeah.
He beat
Nice
Sharif
work,
off.
Jake Herbert.
Big facts.
Something Kale, Kyle, and Jayden couldn't do.
Yeah, Sharifov's hit
Nice.
list is ridiculous.
Also, for the second part of the question, no, Kyle Snyder has beaten 2 Olympic champions as well, Saj Live and Jake Varner.
Boom.
I
Nice.
think that's it, though, for current American wrestlers.
Yes. Yeah, not even Burroughs or Dake.
No, that one I had to do some research on to double check. Now, after this Olympics, depending on how Dake and Taylor do, they could both get added to that list as well as Burroughs, because they've all kind of beaten each other.
Mm-hmm.
So if they go win gold, then get a couple there. All right, this one from Lefty Strat 5. RBY, YBR, and RBG round robin in their prime. Who wins?
So RBG, this is a joke, right? Because that's the
Yes, the
judge
Supreme Court.
lady.
Yeah, she wrestled. She wrestled
And
back in the day.
I think
She wrestled with
As
some
good as-
real difficult constitutional questions.
That's right.
God, as good as our RBY is, Boney Rodriguez, primetime Boney Rodriguez was so fire.
Mhm.
I don't think
Mhm.
RBY is there yet.
The thing is, though, he took some weird losses, and
He did.
yeah, I think he lost to
High ceiling, low floor.
Yeah, so it just depends
But
on the
Kozak,
day.
he's Cuban, so you know what that means,
And
right?
it also says in their prime.
That means if RBY brings a big enough paycheck, yeah, then he's gonna win.
Yeah, that's
But
another.
if we actually,
That's another trend. If you look at the amount of silvers for Cuba over the
Oh my
last
God.
20 years, it's unreal.
silvers and bronzes, lots of
Yeah.
silvers and bronze.
No gold.
Lopez, most notoriously,
Yeah.
the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
You telling me the one true GOAT, Mihan Lopez, couldn't have won that match?
Riza Kalyap.
Yeah,
You never know. Anything can happen when you step on the mat.
that's right. This from FRL's the best. Thank you, great handle. Could Gable receive his $250K bonus for winning the Olympics and still come back to college? The same bonus that Snyder had to forfeit to still compete at Ohio State. One, Snyder did not forfeit. It goes to like a fund or something, and you get it when you graduate. And I would assume that is still the same, seeing as how you cannot directly get paid
Yes,
to compete. You can only make it off your name, image, and likeness.
agreed.
I'm fairly certain there's like a specific carve out in the rule book because they make all these amendments, and then when you actually read it, it's like, provision 1-B-4-C, and then it just goes on, and one of them is for that living the dream, and maybe it doesn't say living the dream specifically, but it's basically in there because they wanted to figure out a way to get living the dream funds to people.
Right. From Actual Cannibal, Matt Spay Wrestler has the best taste in music on FRL. Does he have a favorite death metal band and or song?
First of all, great question. Great listener, great friend of the show. Death metal probably. I was just listening to Clutch on the way over here. They had their best of from their early years just re-released, which basically just means it's a playlist on Spotify. But as far as death metal, I hear good things about Opeth, but I don't. Nothing comes to mind.
I wonder if
I don't want Spade to hate me, but I don't know how people listen to death metal, or I don't get it. It just hurts my brain. I can't do it.
I have trouble with the lead singer that sounds like Cookie Monster as well, like when he's just growling into the mic. I think death metal, it's like if you're into it, you're really into it, and it's totally your jam. If it comes on, it's okay. I used to listen to the Seton Hall University radio station back in New Jersey was a heavy metal student-run station that only played heavy metal, and they would slip in some death metal, and I wouldn't mind. But I can't say it's my go-to. I'm more of like a groove rock, Clutch. ASG is something I've been listening to recently. So, but again, great question. We should get more questions from Actual Cannibal.
Producer Tyler might be onto something, saying, is Spay the actual cannibal, and has been just asking questions for the past however long to set himself up
That's
for this
absurd.
question
That's
when he came on the show.
First of all, Tyler, how dare you? Second of
Long game
all,
plan.
come on. He's been asking questions for a long time. This is a ridiculous long con just to get that question, which I didn't even know how to answer right because I'm not even a big death metal head guy. So Nice try, Tyler. Come on.
From Miraculous 165, Matt. If MMA is one of the most popular future for college wrestlers, do you think RTCs should hire a well-known wrestler that made his name in MMA and establish a dual training center for Olympic/MMA aspirations? Ben,
No, I hate this.
thank you. I do as well. I was hoping that's what you would
Shut
say.
down. What about?
Well, I think people should compete at wrestling, and then when they're ready to be done, then move to MMA. So, they're kind of in a way doing this in Happy Valley, right, where they are now building an American Top Team there.
Nichols,
and apparently,
yes.
they're bringing in big time coaches, and in striking and jiu-jitsu. But yeah, I mean, just the idea of doing them both at the same time is just not that good. And then, if you're kind of just dabbling a little bit, maybe just kind of for fun once in a while, some jiu-jitsu or some striking. But if you're doing too much of it, it's going to take away from your wrestling. And so if your goal is to really make a world and Olympic team, then do that. And then if you want to go to MMA, then go do that. But just like trying to dabble in both at the same time, I don't really get it. It's like, and I think some of these guys who they're thinking about doing it, they wait way too long, and it's just like, just go do it already. Like, and start when you're 22 or 23 or 24. Don't start when you're 30 years old. I mean, right? Obviously, Daniel Cormier did it, but again, we talked about he was at a much heavier weight class, and I think that's probably why at that weight class you see people who are much older have success, whereas at the middle and lighter weights you don't really see older people have a lot of success. So start early.
Yeah, I was listening to Nickel talk about this on Bash's podcast, and he was saying he only intends to practice wrestling like 2 days a week still, and is not planning on competing in wrestling at the World Team Trials or anything like that. So I think that's his plan, and so I think that's like the real world example of the answer to this question.
When was this Bash podcast?
Maybe like a week or two ago.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
I had not heard that.
Yeah.
So that was news to me. Okay, from EJ Newton, he's asked this question a couple times, asking for an update on Gilman's injury. We're not gonna know. We don't know. Can tell you he's gonna wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. There's no world where Gilman says he's not 100%, or like if you ask him, or if he's sitting right here, he's going to tell you he's ready to go. He's going to make sure that there are no excuses beforehand, and he's going to wrestle with every ounce of strength and determination in his body, which should be really awesome to watch. But yeah, we're never going to get a satisfactory answer there.
Never.
If you want to know exactly where his injury is, it's not for us to know.
Yeah. Let's see. This one's from Stringer's Burner, and it's actually a picture of a clip out of an article calling Wade Chalice the father of funk. Does this mean he is Ben's dad?
I saw this question. I wish that there was more Wade Chalice scrambling footage. Right, there's no video of it. So that kind of stinks. But yeah, he invented the spladle, which doesn't really work anymore. And I don't know what else he invented really. But so I hope my inventions stand the test of time, and then we'll see, long term.
He is not the father.
Yeah, I mean that would make him kind of the grandfather of the whole funky family, right, Ben? I mean you're expanding the funk family.
There we go. Hey, but how did this announcement go so under the radar? Because that was the first time that I seen that Jaden Ironman won the Chalice Award. And listen, that's the second biggest award in college wrestling. So I think Win Magazine should have made a little bigger deal of that, because I didn't see that announced anywhere until that was posted yesterday.
Is
anyone else aware that they gave it away?
They need a fan voting component to it. That's the only way. That'll help.
Stop.
It's all about the publicity. Just get eyeballs
Engagement,
on the sport.
baby.
That's right.
Wow. Yeah. So they should have made a little bigger thing. This is good. We can play this video?
Yep. Last thing before we go, I was looking for who actually called for it, and I couldn't find it. But someone asked if we had seen this video. I did watch this video last night. Chael Sonnen posted about a minute-long video of Jordan Burroughs talking, And it's just another great example of how lucky we are to live in the same time as Jordan Burroughs, a great ambassador for his family, himself, and the sport of wrestling as a whole.
I cling to hope. I choose to be proactive as opposed to responsive in difficult situations, right? Circumstances aren't ideal. You got to be in here with the guy that stole your dream, and you got to essentially root him on and hope for the country to do well. It's not a favorable position that I'm in, but also I've had so many victorious days that I understand that there was a other guy on the other side of all those victories that I've had that went home in despair, and you forget about that. So I think that I've got 3 kids at home, 1 on the way, and I expect all of them to be athletes, and I have to be the living embodiment of what it looks like to show sportsmanship at all times, to be a display of grace and discipline. So I'm here. I'm not going to spend time at home. I'm not going to get any better. I got to be here with the best guys in the world. So it makes sense for me to be here. It's not great for my pride, not great for my ego, but it's good for my wrestling.
There you go. He did say essentially root for him.
I mean, he showed he's human, and he can't be, completely oblivious to the fact that he's there with the guy that took his spot. But
saying,
and he doesn't like the guy.
He doesn't want to go through that mini turning.
Yeah.
No, nobody.
I think he goes up to 79 and does spend some time there.
Yes. Would he go back down if Cal did not medal this year?
Probably. I would say probably.
Yeah, I would think
Cal
so.
take that medal? No, come on, man.
I know. Yes, very unlikely scenario. Anyways, I think that was a good note to end the show on today. We've got breakfast tacos to get to here in the office. Thank you, Kozak. Thank you, Spade, for joining the show. For Ben Askren, John Kozak, Andrew Spade, I'm JD Rader. We'll see you tomorrow.